all for joining us. Got it. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I know you are very, very busy over in those buildings and preparing for MAP tests, but I do appreciate you taking time out for us to share information with you around teacher in residency, but also alternative certification and be able to answer any questions that you may have. I have a couple of people with me today, and I'll let them jump in and introduce themselves so you can put a face with a name. And I'll start with Dr. Ross.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Chanua Ross, and I am a program director at UMSL. And in my previous life, I worked with Carla Leggett as a principal in Jennings. So, but I've been with UMSL now for about, 7-8 years now, directing all kind of programming. And a lot of programming that I deal with is innovative pathways into the teaching profession. So that's what I'll be speaking with you about tonight.
And next we have Miss Casey Sweeney. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Cassie Sweeney. I am the academic advisor for the Teach Residency program. This is actually the same program that I got my certification through back in 2008, and then I taught for 13 years as a middle school English language arts teacher with St. Louis Public. So this is not only a program that I strongly support, but it's one that I've lived through as well. And so, yeah, I'm happy to help any of the candidates that are going through the program and going through the process of becoming fully eligible and answering any questions that you may have as well.
Hi, everyone. I am the invisible man tonight. I apologize. My webcam is not working, so I don't know if it's my computer or the camera, but you'll have to, you can see the beautiful background of our Millennial Student Center and the pond, and the little person with the red shirt way off in the background. That's actually a statue of our original chancellor back from the 1960s when the university, they put a t-shirt on it, and for the longest time I thought that was somebody that was photobombing the picture. I get to be the recruitment coordinator here at UMSL, so I get to talk about all our programs to anyone who will listen, and I get to work with great people like Cassie and Dr. Ross, and we're gonna have some great time talking about our residency program. So thank you for joining us.
You're muted, Dr. Woods.
These are the individuals that I work with as we are trying to implement our teacher in residency program over in UMSL. And so we are very reflective of the program that we have in place and kind of what's working, what's not working. And as a result of us doing some reflecting and some introspection, we thought that it might be helpful for us to bring you all together as administrators to not only share with you the process for teacher in residency, since I know a lot of you all are hiring individuals who are wanting to teach on a provisional, but also kind of the support that is needed from you as the administrators once you do make that recommendation for a teacher in residency. So we're just trying to look back to see how do we strengthen what we're doing so that it's effective for everybody, including you all. And so that was really the goal and the purpose of tonight. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Ross and Ms. Sweeney so they can just kind of give you an overview of the process for teacher in residency, and then we'll go from there. As well as they wanted to be able to share with you, and answer any questions that you all have when you have a candidate that you've interviewed that may not have a traditional certification in education, but you are inquiring about how do they become part of the program. If they have a bachelor's degree, what is taken in consideration in an effort for us to get them provisionally certified to teach in your building. So I'll turn it over to you all to.
I'll take it. Dave, can you share? I need screen sharing access. Not sure what happened.
I'm on it.
All right.
Let's see, security, share screen. There you go. You should have it.
Thank you. Okay, so I am. Can everyone see that screen that says UMSL Teach Residency?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Here we go. So I guess I'll start off by asking, does anyone have a resident teacher right now? Do we all have resident teachers, or are we thinking about getting them, or just where is the audience? Dr. Woods, you may know.
And getting them.
Okay, all right. So I am going to, again, Dr. Woods, as she mentioned, this is to make sure that we're all on the same page, that we understand this teacher, the context of which they're coming into your classrooms, and so you have a better idea of how to support them. So let's see. So this is our core team right here. I'm, again, Chanua Ross. Dawn Thiemann actually works with our group. She's not on the call tonight, but she deals with a lot of the financial pieces. And she also does some correspondence with school leaders. So if you do have a resident teacher, you'll be hearing from her this fall regarding some of the requirements that you'll need to, that'll need to take place with your resident teacher this second year, if you have a second year resident. Cassie is like the boots on the ground person that is constantly supporting them. She does a lot of progress monitoring. She tracks them. She is their retention person that keeps them going through the program. She communicates with our instructors, our resident teachers, with myself, just all of us, Dr. Woods. She's just the boots on the ground that gets them through the process. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through the presentation. And of course, Dave, he just introduced himself. He is our recruitment coordinator. He sets up all the wonderful informational meetings that we have when we're in the recruitment process. So I'm gonna keep going from here. So I thought I'd start by sharing just some of the places where we have resident teachers. Of course, you know, it's a teacher shortage, so we are getting them every place. It used to be that when I first came on board, I worked primarily with Teach for America, which Cassie mentioned coming through Teach for America. But now this program has been approved by DESE and has expanded beyond just Teach for America candidates. So we have them, we have cohorts that are coming through this program and saying with public schools, KIPP schools, Confluence Academies, U City, Rittner, you name the districts, they're everywhere. I don't even have the full list of partners that are on here now. I think Cassie said we got someone from, where did we get a new one from, Cassie?
They're literally all over the state. Any district that's willing to hire teachers on provisional certifications we can work with. Hazelwood is now one of our biggest cohorts, and one of the people that we work with most frequently. So we're very proud of that.
Yep. All right. So this slide right here just gives you just an overview of how our partnership works. To the left, you'll see who the key people in the partnerships are. Current sites right now. I listed the residents out there that we have currently at Arrow Point, Twillman, Jury, West Middle, Southeast Middle, but we don't handle the placement part, but they can be placed anywhere in the Hazelwood School District. Dr. Woods and her HR team, they all handle that component. Right now, we're targeting the recruitment of 13 residents a year. Last year, I think the target was like 9 just to get started with the program, but now we've moved up and we're trying to get more resident teachers in. And so this year's target is 13. Other key partners are, of course, your HR department, Dr. Woods being a very key component with this program. DESE, they are they're the certifying body that actually gives us the competencies and the requirements that must be met by these resident teachers. UMSL faculty and staff, because of course they're the ones implementing the program, making sure that the courses are experiential and that the learning outcomes are like authentically connected to what's happening in districts. And school leaders, of course, you guys are on the call because you are very much involved, because these are your teachers that are coming in to your classrooms, and mentors in your buildings are also extremely important key partners in this residency pathway. So to the right, you'll see that this is the way that we launched this residency is we have a partner overview meeting. We've had that with, this is going to be year 2 with Hazelwood going into the residency model. We started off with an overview meeting. Right now, they've already, Dr. Woods' teams has already strategized their pipeline, who they're targeting as far as like if they need math. Well, I think you guys just need teachers, but some districts target like elementary, some people target like the STEM areas, some people target minority teachers. Like, so you can strategize your pipeline and choose your targeted candidates. During phase 2, which you guys are well into that now, going into year 2, you're promoting interest. So that's where you see all those flyers coming to your buildings. And we're also holding joint recruitment informational Zoom meetings. Sometimes we're actually coming to your districts and meeting. Dave handles those informational sessions. And then we begin the screening process. And that's where Cassie comes in. And there's a whole system that's set up. We give them links, and then we just start working on them and getting them going. And we're in constant communication with your HR team, who's sending them out to you guys for interviews. And if they're chosen by you, or they're interviewing them, and if they're selected, then they go through the hiring process. So all of that hiring and interviewing is done through Hazelwood. We also, after they're selected, Dr. Woods and Cassie and myself are in very close contact. And so we begin the onboarding process, which is happening like right now, where we've been screening. We start this process like in October, and it just continues to go. And like right now, as by July, we'll be having them hopefully fully provisionally certified. Many of these applicants right now are taking their exams, their content exams, so that they can receive that provisional. Or they're applying to the university. I mean, just a bunch of things happen during this onboarding process that's going on like right now. I believe interviewing it will come up eventually, and Dr. Woods will have those specific timelines for you. And then the other part that I put on here, or the last part, is like in August is when the residency teaching appointment actually begins, and that's when the resident teacher actually also starts their coursework with UMSL. It is important that, again, that the districts assign a mentor. This mentor has to be an experienced expert teacher that provides job guidance and mentorship to each resident. So the program design, this program is designed for candidates who wish to teach and become certified at the same time. They must teach on a provisional for 2 years in a public school or a charter school. Again, you saw Archdiocese on there as well. Anything that's approved by DESE, where they can get that provisional through DESE, is eligible for this program. The candidates, while they are teaching in your classrooms, they are taking the necessary coursework to earn their Missouri certification within that 2-year timeline. The courses are all online. They're asynchronous, very job embedded. The course design is interactive. So in a lot of these courses, they're like methods courses, teaching math, teaching science, teaching social studies, literacy assessment, things that should be happening in your classrooms. And so it's very much tied to what's happening in your district and should be job embedded as far as learning goes. The coursework is also aligned to the Missouri State certification requirements and the assessments that are required by the Missouri, by DESE. We have several tracks. Early childhood is a 43 credit hour track. Elementary is 32 credits. Middle level, we have English, math, science, and social studies, 27 credit hours. Secondary, we have English, math, science, social studies, as well as the foreign languages of Spanish and French. And then special education, we also have that program, and it's a 42 credit hour program. Before I go on, are there any questions so far? And if you have questions, you can throw them in the chat, and Cassie and Dave will monitor that. So The eligibility requirements for this program are, these are for candidates that have a conferred degree. It does not matter if the degree is not in the subject area. So at the beginning of their screening and their trying to meet eligibility, they have to pass a content exam, and I've listed the content exams here. So if they pass that content exam, DESE considers them knowledgeable enough in the content area to teach the content in the classroom. The thing that you guys are probably seeing for candidates who are knowledgeable, when they come in during year one, they might be knowledgeable of content, but they don't have the pedagogy. So they're just starting to learn how to teach reading. And I've had some, it's been an eye-opener for some leadership, because they were thinking, asking candidates, when did you take your methods course? And these candidates have not taken methods courses. They're just beginning, like one of their first courses in the fall is instructional design and lesson planning. So it's a, you have to understand the context that they're coming. I believe that Dr. Woods is putting in, I think they have some pre-training during the summer. I'm not sure.
We've actually hired our teacher in residency mentor coach, and she will begin, her official start date is July 1st, but she won't be here till the end of July. And she's going to be putting together like a summer institute for those candidates that we get in, and the returning candidates. So those that were in year one this year will be required to attend the summer institute as well.
And some teachers, sometimes we see districts like yourself that are recruiting internally. So you have staff members that are kind of familiar, that have worked as TAs or substitute teachers, work with some of your teams and are a little bit more familiar. And then, but also you have other people that come in just straight up, career changers is what we call them. And they come in learning all of this. And so year one for some of them is a trying year, but we've seen some very, very successful candidates, and we have a very high program completion rate for this option. So these next two or three slides, just kind of gives you an idea, just shows you again how this pathway is very different from the traditional pathway. So traditionally, you may have a teacher that has gone through a 4-year college program. They've completed their student teaching at the end. Then they take their content exam and graduate with a bachelor's degree in education, and we recommend them for initial cert. However, with this program, we're talking an alternative provisional certificate. So they're graduating with a degree, any degree, could be a dance degree, as long as it's from an accredited college or university. They can use that degree. They enroll in a college education program with us. We screen them for their GPA has to be at least a 2.5. If they're non-degree seeking, we do have candidates that come through this program and can take additional credit hours and receive their master's degree with this program as well. Cassie, did you want to add something in there?
No, you got it.
Okay. But during this program, they're enrolling, they're teaching, and they're taking coursework simultaneously. They have to pass their content exam before entering the program, not at the end like the traditional candidates. And they're teaching under that provisional certificate for the first 2 years, and then they earn their initial cert. There's also a program called TAC, which is Temporary Authorized Certificate Program. Many of your candidates are not going that route. That is a DESE approved program where we offer the courses that are needed. With that program, you must have a degree in the subject area though. So, I mean, some people come through. In fact, I have a child. My son actually just finished his kinesiology degree, which qualified him for a TAC in physical education. So he's a PE teacher on a TAC, just finishing up those certification courses to serve as a PE teacher. So, I mean, we have different routes, but this route that we're partnering with you on is the residency route, and it's going to give them that provisional certification. So again, that provisional certification is very short term. It's for the ones who did not complete the 4-year program. It's temporary, and it's really renewed. The TAC you can renew for 2 years. That the provisional comes as a 2-year certificate. And then if in some cases we have a candidate that may need an additional year, we can ask for an extension, but it's really a 2-year provisional, and everything is set to happen within that 2 years. It's not transferable to other states, and it's not even transferable to another district. So once they're on that provisional, it's an agreement between Hazelwood, UMSL, and the student to complete everything, all of their obligations, and we'll go through those. After their provisional, we recommend them for the initial professional certificate, and like the others, it goes from initial to career continuous. So this is what your new residents that we're recruiting will look like. They'll come in, we'll have them apply by July 1. It will take 2 years. In May of 2025, they'll be finishing up their program, and we'll be recommending them for that initial certification. And in 2029, they'll go for their career continuous. So university obligations, and this is really the heart of tonight's conversation, is to tell you what each of our roles are for these resident teachers and for this program to be successful. So the program has the university does have a program director, it is myself, and I have a team that I shared with you earlier. We serve as the main contact people for this program. I handle logistics. I handle working with the State Department to make sure that our core competencies are visible in our curriculum program. I work with the UMSL team to make sure that we have the right faculty teaching those courses. We also have a program advisor, Cassandra Sweeney, and she is the person that does intense advising. She handles all of their enrollments every semester. She tracks them all the way through the program because these candidates have to end with a 3.0 for us to recommend them for initial cert. So every semester she's tracking GPAs. If someone's falling off in a course, she's communicating with them, she's success coaching, she's talking with an instructor if there's something else that's happening with that candidate. So she's just like their right-hand person. She's their liaison all the way through that part. She's also helping with all the applications that are needed, applications into the university, applications for a provisional certification, applications for initial certification, and all the little pieces that go with that. She guides them through all of the steps of all of that, and she handles other program-related issues as well. We provide qualified faculty that refine, implement, and evaluate the program coursework. So we're doing a lot of that now. We're in the process of revising some courses, making sure that we're all the way on top with, the current practices and standards, and that our courses are, meeting their research base and meeting the needs of getting these candidates to where they should be by the end of their 2 years. We also provide technology support because it is an online program. So we make sure that they have a person or someone that can provide support if they're needing support online. We have departments that document the registration, the eligibility, all the financial pieces and all of that. That's all taken care of by the university. We also are responsible for completing the MECE evaluation, which is a DESE requirement. And it is the evaluation, it's the performance evaluation that happens during year 2. And it's where an UMSL person actually is monitoring them, watching them teach, looking and rating their performance. And that score with the score of someone from your school site is combined and has to meet a certain point target in order for us to recommend them for initial certification. So that happens during year 2 of the program. We also support the recruitment and selection of qualified individuals to participate in your not apprentice program, your resident program. So that's that whole screening piece that we take care of for you when you're looking for candidates. Your obligations The hiring process, the interview, all of that, those pieces are on the school district. That is all handled by Hazelwood. You sign off on their provisionals, UMSL signs off on the provisionals. All of that goes through that process, and the district is responsible for that. The district is also responsible for notifying myself or the advisor if a candidate or a resident teacher resigns or is terminated, because they are on that provisional temporary certificate. We do have to contact DESE and have those pieces removed, and so that they're not still in place and all of that. So they're leaving your school does impact their certification. You do agree to place them. You do agree when you do hire them in as a provisional teacher, you as a district are agreeing to hire them in for the 2-year provisional, unless they do something that's just totally outrageous and just doesn't, you can't, they warrant them to be fired. Then you kind of work with them over the 2 years as they're making
That
it.
rarely ever happens.
It doesn't. It is the district's responsibility to identify a mentor. And I know with this program, Dr. Woods has a program mentor, but also even if they have a mentor at their school site, it is super important. And a mentor that's intentional with mentorship, not just a mentor that says, oh, I'm down the hall if you need me or blah, blah, blah. No, a mentor that has set tasks and activities and checkpoints and things set up with them to guide them through this whole process of teaching. Someone that's lesson planning with them, or someone that's saying, hey, come in and watch this part of the lesson. Like it's, and I have mentor tasks, which I'm sure you guys have all that, Dr. Woods, but I do have, if an administrator is looking for some specific items for their mentors to do, we have some of those items as well to share with you. The school administrator or someone that they designate to evaluate the resident teacher is required to do that evaluation during year 2. And that's where you'll get this notification from my team member, Dawn, and she will send out information on the rubric and how to do the assessments. You'll hear from the practicum person who's also evaluating them during the fall course. It requires that the administrator or the it could be a coach in your building, it could be whoever you decide to have look at that teacher's performance, is that they conduct a formative and a summative assessment during that final year of their teaching placement. And we have the rubrics and all the materials that we give you to conduct that. And then we ask that you secure that the teacher has access to district email and school internet for the duration of the program, just in case they don't have internet access at home. We want them to have a place where they can have that access so they can be successful with the online course work that's involved. Communication support to the resident teachers so that they're able to carry out those job embedded duties. You agree to immediately again notify us if that teacher is failing to comply with the terms and conditions of the agreement. All of these obligations are signed in what we call an academic contract. So you'll see the district in the academic contract, it'll have everything that the university is agreeing to. It'll have all these things that the school district agrees to. We'll have that signed by the school district, and then it'll have a spot for the resident teacher and all the things that they're agreeing to. We do ask that you allow the resident teacher to do a video recording during their practicum, because it's all attached to the course. It's nothing that goes outside of the course. It's just so because we have residents all over Missouri and we can't drive to all those locations. So a lot of it is through a video platform where the practicum teacher is using that to give feedback regularly on teaching standards and to evaluate the performance. We, again, the school district obligation is to support the recruitment and selection of qualified individuals. And that even goes with you guys. And however you or teaming up with your HR department. If you have a substitute that's in your building that is just amazing and you know they have a degree and you're like, this, I can totally see this person teaching, and I would love for them to be part. This is an opportunity to share that information with your HR department and to go after and recruit those individuals who you see excelling and being great future teachers. So the resident teacher obligations, again, holding a bachelor's degree. The admittance is 2.5, and that's for non-degree seeking. If they're seeking the MED with this option, it's a 3.0 or a 2.75. We can get them in with that. It's also important that they pass the required teacher exam in their sought area of certification. This is a major one. DESE will not allow them to go on a provisional without having passed that Missouri content exam. So this summer, we're actually, like I said, Cassie is, once they start the screening process, and we have plenty of them like out there going through trying to submit. But once we start that process, Cassie is on them about getting dates, setting up their dates. She will contact them 4 or 5 times until she gets that test date and knows that they're at least going out there and attempting, seeing what that exam is. We give them all of this resources for how to study for the exam. We're even going to have a MOCA boot camp this summer. Again, we had one last summer. We're going to give them we're going to have a boot camp this summer. We're going to be giving them a practice exam voucher, and we're going to be guiding them to show them how to set up their study guides using their breakdown of how they scored on their practice exams. So we have a funding that's supporting all of that. That'll happen this summer. We will definitely be reaching out to your folks who have not passed the exam yet. We're asking, they're also committing that they will complete all the required certification courses in good standing. They cannot, DESE does not allow them to have less than a C in a course. If they have under a C, they have to retake the course. So this is again why it's all closely monitored, even during the semester. Like this is mid-semester right now. Cassie is already reaching out, connecting with instructors. Is anyone falling behind? And then she's reaching out to them and trying to get things moving and getting them back on track. So it's a lot of progress monitoring with this program. They are also required to finish the program with a 3.0 and in order for us to recommend them for initial certification. So again, that's us at the end of every semester. We have GPA calculators for every student, and that's where Cassie's going in and calculating GPAs to make sure that they're on track for completing with that 3.0. Let's see. So, and then again, they're going to complete their DESE course requirements, and they're going to pass their MES performance exam. Sometimes we have that performance exam happen the second fall. If they're not quite scoring high enough to pass, they have another semester that we can work with them, and you can work with them to try to get that score improved so that they're able to pass. So it's not like if they don't pass it during the fall, they still have another semester to go for it again. These are the required credit hours. We do allow them to transfer in hours. So if you were a student who ended up with a bachelor's in educational studies, and maybe you want to transfer some of those education studies courses in that meet these competencies, we'll take those. The state will take those and allow those to count towards certification, even if they're undergrad courses. Although it's a graduate program, DESE just wants to make sure that they have taken the required competencies. So we will allow, we've seen people transfer in 15 credit hours of coursework and have 10 hours left or 12 hours left to complete programming. So that's another popular component of the program that we see often as we're reviewing transcripts. So the school partner opportunities that we see, it is a joint program administration. It offers, we do recruitment, and we work on recruitment and retention together. So on our end, we're doing everything to retain them and make sure that they successfully complete And then on your end, you're also, so it's like they have all the support from both the university and from the school district. We're out there jointly recruiting. Like I said, we've had a couple of recruitment events already, and plus word of mouth spreads. I think last year, as administrators were finding out, I was even getting calls just from administrators who were finding out and saying, hey, what is this program, and blah, blah. So it's kind of spreading, and as you can see, it's spreading actually across Missouri. So another advantage of it is it's an experiential training model. And so it allows for some curricular collaboration. So if they're learning if they're working with your coach in your buildings on teaching, reading, and assessment, all those pieces should be combining. They should be coming together for them, because they're having to do those practices at UMSL, and then they're having to collaborate and go back and do them in your classrooms. And so it really just makes this model a hands-on experience for the teacher. The thing is, they don't come with all of it right away. So you have to be patient. That first year when you're coming in, they're coming in that first semester and they don't have those practices down, and just keeping an open mind that they're learning through this process. And like I said, we get some really strong, we've gotten teachers of the year across parts of Missouri. I mean, these usually are people that are really vested and want to really teach, like they really want this. So in my experience in handling, these have been some very, very, very strong teacher candidates that come through this program, this certification route. It's also an opportunity for you to advance degrees of existing staff. So if you, like I said, you know they're vested already and they're doing well. It's even the secretary who has a degree, who works well with children. Maybe she's tutoring after school, or you just see that person in that teaching role. This is the opportunity to give them that alternative pathway into the profession, and work in your building and get paid while they're working on certification. It also increases your number of appropriately trained and certified educators, because DESE does count those provisionals, provisional certification as, your school gets points for that, rather than having a sub in the classroom. You would much rather want to have someone who's on a temporary license that's working on towards the initial certification. The opportunities for the resident teacher, it's like an earn while you learn model. It's very experiential, as I stated, job embedded training that's aligned to Missouri certification requirements. They are the teacher of record. They're not substitute teachers. They're actually receiving teacher salary and benefits. Our program has an emphasis around inclusive practices, cultural competency, and social justice in education. It's cohort formatted. Now, all of the programs they have different course requirements, but if you have 5 elementary teachers, more than likely they're going to be in that cohort, moving through that 2 years together in their coursework. It's online formatted so that the related coursework we know that they're working teachers. We know that they have school obligations, so we allow them to be able to go online and work on their coursework around their schedules. And it does have an embedded MED option that incorporates 9 additional credit hours that are woven into the program if that person wants to earn their MED. Funding, these are candidates that are eligible for financial aid, whether they're going for a degree or non-degree. Teacher certification makes you eligible for financial aid. There is the Teach Grant option with this program, because they are actually working in a certain area. They can have loans forgiven if they stay within that area for so long. So we talk to them about those pieces, those opportunities. And with your program, for these cohorts that are coming up, they're actually being fully funded by the school district. So that's an amazing opportunity for these candidates to have their entire certification coursework paid for. Wraparound services are also another component that they receive. Consistent mentorship is expected through your district. Intense advising, you can expect that they're going to get that for 2 years. Intense advising and success coaching. And they have access to all the other things. So if they're going through some trauma, it's not unlikely where we will refer them for care team, or we will send them for a counseling, because they have access as a student of UMSL to all of those services. So, all the student support, the tutoring, the counseling, all those pieces are available for our UMSL students. And that's another piece that Cassie makes sure that they are aware of. So that's like an overall really fast overview of our program. I am open for questions that you may have at this point. I think the piece about us, I'm going to share this PowerPoint with you. And what I'd like for you to do, is just to go back and slow down and look at what your obligations are as the district, because I do want you to understand that this is a different type of student that's coming into your classrooms, and they have a different type of need, just like all of our students that are in our classrooms that are at different levels. And this is exactly what you are experiencing when you have a resident teacher. These are some of the most dedicated individuals, but they do in the beginning need just a lot of support. Did you guys want to add anything to that, Dr. Woods or Cassie?
No, I'm open to any questions that you guys may have. The teaching residency students that are coming in, they're not going to have a lot of background. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some of them do come from backgrounds in education and they just didn't finish for whatever reason, getting their certification. Some people are coming in with completely no background in education, but as long as you understand that they did pass their MOCA test and they do have the content knowledge to be effective teachers, the pedagogy and all that other stuff that comes with being a good teacher will come with the coursework. So they're learning as they go. So yeah, any questions that you guys have, we are happy to answer.
I know y'all got some questions. Come on, answer them questions.
Don't be shy. We really don't judge.
Has anyone
Has
anyone had any success with resident teachers, or any questions about what's happening with a resident teacher that you have now? Like any feedback that you want to give, or questions that you have about other ways to support, or just, I don't know, anything to share with the group?
I'm impressed with our resident teacher. She is a natural. She has come into a challenging situation, and she has established relationships with the students. She's established relationship with the staff, and the students are responding well to her. So I'm well pleased with the candidate that we have currently at Barrington.
That's wonderful.
That is good to hear. And I can say something that we put in place, how we're able to fully fund is because we received that $697,000 retention grant from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And so right now, it was only a 3-year grant. So we had a cohort year 1, we're going to have a cohort year 2. Then in year 2, year 1 will be in their second year. And then in year 3, cohort 2 will be in their second year. And then we hope to have some success from our program so that our Board of Education and the superintendent can look at possibly funding this as an option. One of the things that we didn't have in place last year that we wrote into our grant, which is in addition to what the new teacher already gets, is in addition to, was a teacher in residency coach, which would provide principals with an extra layer of coaching support for that teacher, that individual. Our primary coaching model in the district is using our instructional coaches. And then we started the new and novice teacher, where they actually, we were paying teachers to actually serve as mentors. And so as a third layer to that, we actually have hired our residency coach for this upcoming school year. And that individual will be working closely with the principal, with the teacher, and with your instructional coach on how to best support this teacher. That person will be coming in, sitting down, helping them to lesson plan, helping them to come up with strategies for classroom management. They will be working with them if they needed to model, making sure that they are connecting them with supports. Something that I kind of did in the background this year, just making sure if they needed any kind of resources or curriculum materials, I would come back over here and reach out to the coordinators or reach out to the reading coach or the math coach and ask that they could come over and work with that individual. So it will be that support is in addition to that. The teacher in residency coach will not be an evaluator, but they may be working with the principal and the coach to just have a common focus for that individual for that first year. So that person will help tremendously because it gives that teacher somebody that they can kind of go to get that additional support. And I guess because she's already been approved by the board, I can tell y'all who it is. It is Michelle Prather, who used to be the instructional coach originally over at Granderman, and then she transitioned to jury as the principal. And she's coming back and she will serve in this role and capacity. So she has lots of experience with, coaching teachers, coaching new teachers, both from a instructional coach's lens and a principal lens. So I think that will also be helpful because she knows what you all are evaluating them on doing those first couple of years. And so she can really, really assist and support and make sure that they are prepared for those evaluations too. So I'm excited to have her. And again, she's going to be doing some Summer Institute work with them. I think that's one of the things that we did a disservice to our teacher in residencies this year, is that they didn't have that extra layer of support that we actually had intended on them having. And I think that will help tremendously. So her caseload will consist of the individuals that are returning from year one. We have one individual that will actually be going into their third year, who was not part of the program because it didn't exist year one. So we're going to offer him an opportunity to still receive that additional support in year three. And then the individuals that are new coming into the program, and some of them have already started. We just haven't started paying their tuition, but just like I think Dr. Fitzgerald says, she has one that may have started mid-year. Those individuals will begin to be supported, and I will be reaching out to them with the option to pay tuition over the next year. And so, if you don't know, they have to commit to 5 years. So if they sign the waiver for us to pay for that tuition, we pay for tuition and books and any other professional development that they may need that will be identified through my exit surveys from the individuals that are not returning with us. And with the surveys of the people that are, we're going to be doing needs assessment with them so we can find out what it is that they need, what are some priorities for them. That they have to work for us for 5 years. So in return of that paid tuition for 2 years, a full-time job with benefits, those 2 years while they're on that provisional, they are agreeing to pay us to work for us for 5 years. So that's a 5-year commitment. If they don't hold up to their commitment, we're coming back for the money that we spent. And we have been doing that consistently this year with the people who notified us that they were not going to be returning. Like we go after the money, like immediately, like we put things in place to recoup that money. We know that so that they can start paying it back now. And, with whatever money that they would have gotten those last summer checks before they leave us. So we try to come up with a payment plan so that we can recoup that money as soon as possible. But more importantly, we don't want people to leave. We want people to stay, and we're trying to do whatever we can to ensure that you all have quality teachers in the classroom for your students, and that we are retaining these individuals longevity wise, so we're not constantly bringing in new teachers. So that's our ultimate goal, and we're going to try to make that happen for you all if you have these individuals that are going through teacher in residency. Any questions for you all around certification, how they go through the program? And like Dr. Ross said, we started with our information back in, I think, November of this year. But again, word of mouth has spread. So although we did those 2 informational nights back in November and December, I'm constantly sending out a handout. Like we created a handout, which gives an overview of everything they need to do. And it has a link where they can start uploading their transcripts to start getting them evaluated. That's what creates the list that Cassandra has. Cassandra has to show me who's interested in the program. And that's that's how she starts to track them and follow them and ensure that they're on the path to completion, which means they've, done all their paperwork, they've taken the MOCA, they're getting out there and interview. Like even last year, Keith and I did do some interviewing because we are trying to promote our TAs and BAs to be able to join teacher in residency. And so a few of the candidates that we had, about half and half, were internal candidates and external. I did take some external candidates. And so we still are focused on those individuals. I think even when we did our informational meetings in the fall, we had, I think each night, 40, 50 people that joined us to get information about this program. And I get inquiries all the time from the principals. I get the inquiries from some of our internal employees already, and then external people who are reaching out. And then UMSL's team does a great job when they get a candidate that may come in a different route and they're just looking for a home school placement and they've done all of the requirements and passed the MOCA. I send that letter to you all and say, hey, this person is eligible, go ahead and interview. And I tell them to make sure that individual gets online and completes an application, but I try to get them to you as soon as possible so that you can interview, so I can help you all fill your vacancies.
And we do have an informational meeting for alternative cert coming up this Thursday.
I'll be there in 1 second, about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I think you sent that information out already, Dr. Woods, for the
say that again. I'm sorry, somebody knocked on my door. I got distracted for
Thursday's informational meeting. We have another informational meeting coming up Thursday evening.
Yeah,
I just put the link in the chat, Tony, for everybody.
I remind Keith to send it out again. I've been given that I sent that informational flyer to you all some time ago. We sent it district wide. I put that flyer in my information when I'm out at recruitment fairs, because believe it or not, sometimes I'm at some fairs that are not everybody it's not a teacher fair, it's just a career fair. And so I make sure that I've been sharing that flyer as part of my folder that I do when I go out to recruitment fairs. I'll be having Keith to send it out to district wide again so that people can sign up. And when I send stuff out, sometimes I send it out to you so that you can share it with your current staff, put it out there on your peach jar, share it when you have your parent nights, just make copies and just sit it on the table or keep it in in your informational little slots, that where you keep information for parents to take so that people come in and can have access to it so that we can, try to build this pipeline. I think it's a great opportunity to get people alternatively certified, and the more and more that we are in this crunch time as in education, we're going to really be looking at, all the alternative ways to get people into the classroom.
So Dr. Woods, I had a quick question. So you mentioned that the teachers, so they're not placed. We do get the opportunity to find out who's in that pool, and then
it's twofold. So last year, so let me say this. Keith and I have the authority to interview and place if need be. However, last year I didn't have to place anybody. What happened is that most of the individuals that were support staff already in our district, their principals elected to keep them. Or a couple of people interviewed because they quickly learn that once they get past that MOCA, that they actually can just go out there on Talent Ed and apply. And then they put themselves out there for the general pool to be interviewed. So there was no way for me to circumvent that. My goal is to never want to place people in anybody's building. Even though we have been given that authority to do so, I really do want you all to interview. So once I get notification that an individual has passed that MOCA and what we call they are completely eligible for the program, that's a complete eligible person that has had their transcripts evaluated. They've actually applied for our district. There is a teacher in residency posting out there that they can also apply for. And they've passed that MOCA. That's the big one, is passing that Missouri Content Assessment. Then they are eligible. And so they put themselves in the pool and you can interview them. And that's what I would prefer, because I want I don't want to force anybody on. That's not a good fit. I want people to be where they are comfortable, and I want principals to have people that they are willing to take a risk on and be able to support. The goal of this is to they need support, and I need principals willing to support them and not be like, measuring them the same way we would measure somebody that's gone 4 years in college that has they've done all these things, because these alternatively routed teachers have not done that. So they need additional support. And I want the principals to understand that. And then, make a commitment that unless they are, what I would say, hurting or harming children, or in some instances, like they're just not coming to work, like they are abandoning their job position, that we do what we need to do to keep these individuals at least 2 years. And then we just wrap as much as support. Use your PD committee. You can use your PD funds to send them to external, professional development. We have a website that I use with new teachers now, Iris Peabody, where there are those individual modules that you can actually, require a teacher to go in and complete. That's what we use at the beginning of the year around classroom management. Making sure that they are participating in coaching cycles with your instructional coach, making sure that you all have a targeted focus for them so that they're not getting a whole lot of things coming at once, and then really prioritizing what we're focusing on. Like, classroom management and lesson planning are probably the number 2 things that they need to be focused on in year 1, right? Like that's a lot for a new teacher. That's why we have our standards for our evaluations. Or set up the way they are. They're not focused. And when I first came here, they used to try to focus on all 9 of these standards. And then eventually year 2, we said, no, we're gonna identify the standards for each year that we need a new teacher to focus on. And we're gonna really hone in on that and provide rep supports around those standards so that they are mastering those standards. And so we want that same idea. You're not gonna have somebody that knows, like Dr. Ross said, all of the pedagogy, because they have not had the coursework that's coming. They are going to struggle with classroom management. New teachers struggle with classroom management. So having a plan to support that new teacher, I think even just with a 4-year teacher, you need to have a plan as a principal to support a new teacher around classroom management, what that looks like. So those are just some of the things. So you get to interview. I've not really placed anybody anywhere now. We did make a recommendation, like to a principal last year, like, hey, this is a person and you need this. And it was a hard to staff position, a Spanish position. So we highly encourage that person to consider, because it was one of those hard to staff positions. But for elementary people, we got plenty of positions. So we just ask that you look at these candidates and interview them and give them opportunity.
Well, and I was thinking, because it is a commitment on their part, both, but especially the person who, if they decided and they break their contract, got to pay the money back and everything. If maybe they tour our schools, if you all get them together to walk through the schools so they can see, because it's as much about us, being comfortable with them as them, because that's a lot of it's a lot.
And I would say that is something that you should consider as the principal, not something I necessarily need to set up, but that should just be a good practice for you when you're interviewing candidates. That's the good practice to allow them to interview with a team of people, allow them to, give them a tour of your school. That's where those videos are coming in that the superintendent and everybody to do. You send that information out to them, give them opportunity to review that, share your brochures. Like that is where that's where your job, as a principal, that's what the role is to really to cultivate that relationship, so they would want to be at your school and they feel comfortable. But on the backside too is making sure that you are making time to meet. I know everybody has a lot going on, but I know when I was a principal, I had a set time once a month that I met with my new teachers after school. And I came up with some topics that I focused on with those individuals so that they had some one-on-one time with me and my team. Like that was something that we put in place to really support them, because we know that during the course of a day, sometimes you can't do it. And there are other things going on. PLCs, they're learning something with everybody else doing PLCs. So you have to carve out that separate amount of time that you give just that group of individuals so that they feel like they are supported. and that
Okay,
they
and then
have
my-
access to you.
And my last thing, because I like the program, and I'm a product of UMSL, all my degrees, but so I always rubber stamp anything UMSL. But I like the studio program too. The studio school, is that something that we're doing in our district, or something we might consider coupling with?
We do
this?
have a studio school. That's not something that's in all of our buildings, but we do
Okay.
have 1 or 2 studio schools in the district.
Okay.
And right now, I know when I was speaking with so I think one of the things that they're just struggling with the studio school is what I heard, like even when I was talking out in Missouri Baptist, a lot of what's happening, even when people are student teaching, school districts are swooping them up on teacher contracts. So it makes it really difficult for them to stay in a student teaching kind of placement long enough to be even for them to have enough candidates to even operate those studio placements programs. And so what they are having to do in some locations is to get rid of some of them because they don't have enough students, because the school districts, are taking everybody and putting them alternatively into classrooms. So that's, and
we do have some other pipeline opportunities coming down the pipeline, and we do have you guys targeted as one of those. And the next one that we're looking at is apprenticeship model, and that's being supported by DESE as well. And there are options for people that have not completed the undergrad pathway to go through an apprenticeship where they're doing these tasks that are required by the Department of Labor, that are very intentional, that can align with things that should be happening in the classroom and in their courses and things like that. So we're working on our model right now. We actually have some funding through a grant. And so we're excited about that. And we'll be trying to roll that next one out to get that other population of teachers that we're not, providing program for at this point. So that's
And Ms. Ross, what about anything maybe geared towards the subbing aspect as they work towards certification?
So with the apprenticeship model that we're working on now, usually they're hired in some kind of support position for the first couple of years, and then the last year they go into that residency where they're on a different type of provisional. Is how that model is looking. So they can be subbing, they can be doing assigned tasks under, it still requires mentorship and things like that, because subs it can't be a sub that's just giving out the packets and not doing the planning and all that. It's like a sub that's being trained as a teacher, not a sub that's just coming in to just get by and get the kids through the day. It's actually intentional tasks that are related and assigned to those roles when it goes through the apprenticeship model.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Woods.
Thank you. All right, if you don't have any other questions, it's 5:35, and I know you all have had a long day and I have another meeting. So if you have any other questions, as always, you all know that I'm an email away, a phone call away. As you all do, always just reach out to me and I can answer any questions that you all may have.
I'll share this PowerPoint, and I'll also have our contact information on it if any one of you need to reach out to us as well.
All right. And this
Dr.
was
Woods, can
recorded.
you call me right quick?
Yes.
Thank you.
Dr. Woods,
Well,
I'll make sure you have the link for the recording.
Okay.
So I'll send that to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming, guys. Send those
Good night.
teachers, those potential candidates.
Okay, good night.